This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm here with Sylvain Naulin, who is basically has been hosting us in the Loire Valley for the last 4 days. How are you today, sir?
I'm very fine because the last 4 days with you and your colleagues were very interesting, very rich, very intense, and very serious in the testing.
How do you feel the wines of the Loire Valley are interpreted by the world of wine as a whole?
Well, actually, the wines from the Loire Valley are considered by some of the people outside of France as a kind of new world. They rediscovered our wines.
And how do you feel the integration between the older producers, the more established producers, and the younger producers is coming along? How is that evolving?
Well, the Loire Valley is not sorry for their region like Bordeaux and so on with well-established producers. It's a region with a very agricultural vineyard with simplicity, very accessible, and then it's absolutely not difficult to have new operators coming from outside in this region.
A few of us have bine commenting with regards to at least the style of the labels that perhaps there are not too many graphic designers in the Loire Valley.
Well, there are two categories of producers, maybe in this region and other ones, with people very traditional, with the will to put to the consumers first the appellation, and then other producers, maybe some young ones, with more design labels, with some, en français, jeu de mots.
Yes, I understand, yeah.
And you can find both in these regions.
I'd be interested to ask you about how much of your product is sold domestically and then how much it goes to export.
Actually, export represents 20% of our production.
Wow, so that's a lot domestically.
There is a lot of domestic consumption, yeah. That's why we work hard on the export.
I understand, yeah. But how does that compare to other regions? I'd be interested.
We are actually less than the average of the French vineyards, and we have a very, very simple element. The French consumption is decreasing. And then if we want to maintain a dynamic vineyard in the Loire Valley, we need to go to export.
If you were to do what we call an elevator speech in I guess, North American parlance, how would you describe the wines of the Loire Valley in 30 seconds?
In 30 seconds, it's a different style of wines than the main well-known regions. A diversity that you can meet anywhere else, and a very balanced style of wine with freshness.
What do you see as the future of the Loire Valley wines in the next decade?
Well, as all the other regions in the next decade, we will need to continue to adapt to the climate change.
Is that something that's affecting you here?
Sure. We are one of the first main important element is the date of the harvest.
Right.
Actually, it's more or less 3 weeks before it was 20, 30 years ago. And if we want to maintain this freshness, we have to work hard on our technical practices in the vineyard, and also our research on the grape varieties to select the more adapted variety, not varieties, but into the same varieties as Chenin, which is one of our emblematic variety, to select the more adapted to the new conditions.
Today I was tasting some of the new Commune labeled Muscadet, and I thought they were outstanding. Perhaps some of the best wines I've tasted this year. It has taken quite a long time for this to come about, this designation, this regulation. What do you think this says about the evolution of Muscadet as an appellation?
Yes, Muscadet has a long time an image of very simple, very easy wine, easy to drink, not to be aged, and so on. And it could be the quality of, and it's interesting to have this kind of wine for the first range of Muscadet, but there is a fantastic diversity of terroir in these regions, and it takes a long time to define the terroir, to put in place the winemaking processes to obtain this kind of products, and to demonstrate that Muscadet could be also a very gastronomic wine, able to be aged, and then you could discover tonight a Clisson or a Chateau Thébault that are so for one of them 6 years ago harvest, and then it's the demonstration that this region have very, very high potential.
It's fantastic how complex these wines can be, especially when people consider Muscadet to be a very simple wine. Many people do. But it's a very small part of the Muscadet production, right? It's
Well, actually, Muscadet production is divided in 2 or 3. The Muscadet with this very simple wine that could continue to exist, that have to continue.
Well, they're delicious wines.
The Muscadet Sévramen sur Lie, which is a half of the production of Muscadet, and in this part of Muscadet Sévramen sur Lie, there is a small part with a selection of villages, with a very strong selection of the soils, of the parcels dedicated to the production of this wine that actually are integrated into these new denominations.
Now, perhaps it could be my ignorance here, but previously these wines that were aged for more than 17 months on lees were not allowed to be labeled as being Muscadet sur Lie. Is this true?
It is.
Okay. And so how does that work today?
But for these new denominations, for Muscadet Sévramen sur Lie, this rules is also in force. But for these new denominations, they decided to increase the time dedicated to the aging on lees.
Because some of these wines are aged for extreme periods on lees.
Yeah,
Yes.
it could be.
Well, I think they're some of the most exciting wines coming from Loire right now. I also tasted some fantastic Chinon, some superb Touraine. Thank you very much for hosting us here in the Loire over the last few days.
Thank you for coming in our region.
No, it's been fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.